finished off 2022 with a bang. First, we'd like to thank everyone as a record number of you took advantage of our Thanksgiving 7-day special. We hope you enjoyed the convenience of getting your favorite handicappers plays daily during the hectic holiday weekend. And we also know that December can be a frenzied month with the holidays and all the sports in play. In the spirit of the season and due to the success of the Thanksgiving special, we are now offering a rest of the calendar year special to get every NFL, college bowl game, NBA, NHL, or any other sport your favorite handicapper releases through December 31st for only $1.99. The early bird really does catch the worm for this special as it starts the day you sign up. No coupon is needed and you pay only $1.99 today or pay $1.99 in a few days. The choice is simple. Let's have a great ending to 2022.
Hey guys, welcome in on a very happy, Wednesday to you now, December the 7th, 2022, and great card in college hoops here tonight. We're going to break down a few of these marquee matchups, see if we can figure out a couple of best bets along the way, and we will do it with three of the most profitable on the hardwood here at wagertalk.com as we welcome in Bryan Power. Look at him getting dressed here for the day. That's nice. Also, UMass himself, Mr. Adam Trigger. Nice shirt there. Appreciate that, Trig. And Tony Finn in the house here on this Wednesday. Gentlemen, fun card here tonight. A lot of different ways to go about it. I see you playing with your collar, Bryan Power, so I will come to you. I'm not sure if that's a hint. But talk to me here, man. Are you dressed up because you want to collect your money looking good here tonight? Is that how it is? What do you got at wagertalk.com for us?
That's exactly what that is. And, of course, I'm a professional first. I was trying to sneak that in. You got me, Joe. I'll tell you what. Man, I'll tell you what, a media aficionado like you can't get anything by you. You got eyes all over the place. What are we talking about on this show today? College basketball. I do have a 3-pack up for sale right now. 3 great games for everybody. Let's go 3-0 tonight. I will also be giving out another game, independent of the 3 we're talking about on the show today as well. So, it's a great card, and I can't wait to break it down.
All right, good stuff there. And Trig, love you repping UMass there. Very nice here, my friend. I know continuing to crush it here on the hardwood with college hoops. Do you happen to have anything loaded up and ready to roll here tonight for us?
Joe, I don't have anything up yet. It's a tricky card today. I'm going to talk about a couple games that I do like. I could add something. Listen, I had a 7-game winning streak going into yesterday. Lost my only play of Mount St. Mary's. I have a bunch of games that I like coming up toward the end of the week. Saturday, I already have like 9 games I like, so that's going to be an issue, trying to figure out which one of those to play on. But nothing yet for tonight, but it's also only 2:05 Eastern, so there's a good chance I add something before the games go off. I do have a $9 college football play, the first bowl play I've made so far, and I'll be adding NFL once some of this injury news settles in as well. So, not much up for me yet except for the college football play, but I'll be adding a bunch of stuff today and tomorrow.
All right, plenty going on here in the world of sports. Tony Finn, what is going on, my man? You have association tonight, college game. What do you got rolling here for us?
I have, like Trig just mentioned, I have about everything except I waited on a little bit of information, a little intel on the campus front, and I have everything ready to go. Just don't have it loaded. As soon as the show's over, I'll have everything up. NFL, college football bowls are up already, at least a couple of them. NBA, and of course, what we're discussing right now, that's campus basketball. We'll be up soon.
All right, ready to roll here, guys. A couple of big matchups here tonight. We'll start with the Big Ten as Michigan State heading to Happy Valentine's here on Penn State. Laying the 4 is Penn State. 136.5. This is going to be a 6:30 Eastern time start. Things started well with Michigan State, and then they just went hard left. These last couple of games have not been good. Coach Izzo said that his team is reeling a little bit here. Well, Penn State's got a little bit of rest in them now, too. I don't think they've played since November 29th, and now they get the host conference game taking on these Michigan State Spartans. I guess you can never count them out here, Bryan Power, but my goodness, it is not quality form right now for this team.
No, back-to-back losses. Both his favorites failed to cover 3 in a row, 1-5 against the number last 6. They have played a ton of close games so far, which I think is notable with them now in the underdog role. 4 of their games this season decided by 4 points or less, and that does not include a double overtime game against Kentucky. Oh, by the way. So that makes it 5 games that at the end of regulation were within 4, and that is the number here. Speaking of double overtime, though, Penn State, they just lost one of those, didn't they? You mentioned they just played on November 29th. Well, that was actually a while ago. Michigan State's played twice since then, but 101-94 at Clemson. That was part of the Big Ten ACC Challenge, of course. And I don't really want to fade Sparty off these losses. It just feels like a spot where they could get right, but at the same time, I don't want to take them either. So let's go to the total. Michigan State, just 115 points the last 2 games, not very many. Still don't have Malik Hall in the lineup. And I think their biggest concern coming into this game, guys, is Penn State is shooting 40.4% from deep, including 46.2% at home. I don't think that's going to call me crazy. I don't think a team over the long term is going to be able to shoot 46% from behind the arc, even at home. So I think it comes down to how well the Spartans do defend that 3-point line. And with the total, I think it's worth noting both these teams playing slow, outside the top 280 in tempo. So this is not on my card, but if I was to make a play on the 6:30 Eastern time tip, it would be to the under. The number has come up a little bit. I think that's because of Michigan State results and obviously the last score of Penn State and Clemson. But I think there's some value with the under here.
So, Trig, you notice pretty well there. Home court advantage for Penn State, opening up conference play, right? Malik Hall is monstrous to this Michigan State team, and they don't have him, and it is shown. So what do you think the chances of Michigan State can go in there and take on Penn State and upend them? And by the way, Penn State beat them, I think, last year. This would be the first time in school history that they would beat Michigan State back-to-back. Can they get it done?
Well, Joe, we'll start with Malik Hall. You mentioned his importance. They're 1-4 against the spread without him this year. Oof. So I would agree with you. He's definitely important to that team. And listen, Penn State's got a great home court advantage. They're typically much better at home. So I don't really want to fade them at home. I was hoping that Michigan State would get a little bit more respect for the name on the front of the jersey here. But the odds makers, I think, have gotten it right by making Penn State as big of a favorite as they have. Because I don't think there's a ton of value in laying 4 with Penn State. It's still a one-off game. Listen, Michigan State has, they've played an absolute gauntlet to start the season, right? I mean, you just look at some of the names on their schedule: Gonzaga, Kentucky, Villanova, Alabama, Oregon. Even the Portland game was part of an MTE up in the state of Oregon. So a game that Portland was very much up for. Then to have to go play at Notre Dame against Northwestern. I mean, they haven't had a break. And they haven't been horrible, right? They were one shot away from beating Gonzaga. They beat Kentucky. They beat Villanova. They beat Oregon. I mean, but all that takes a toll. And even Tom Izzo has alluded to the fact that the team is tired. They're beat up. So I don't know that this is the spot. I don't know that this is the get-right spot, Joe. I think that might be on the horizon, maybe against Brown, Oakland, Buffalo, Nebraska, some games they have coming up at home. That might be the get-right spot for Michigan State. I love this Penn State team. The hot take here, Joe, I think Penn State could win the Big Ten this year. I think they're that good. I think I'm just saying, the preseason favorite to win the Big Ten was Indiana at like 4-1. The realistic pick, I think, is Illinois. That's who I think probably wins it. But Penn State is going to be in the mix. Jalen Pickett, former Siena Saint. I knew we were going to lose him at some point, Joe. He's always belonged in a big conference like this. The guy's like a walking triple-double. Had a triple-double earlier this year. He's just Micah Shrewsbury is an awesome coach. I love this Penn State team. I would have loved to back them here at closer to a pick at -4. That I can't possibly lay -4 here. And I'm not going to write Michigan State off, but I mean, I really like this Penn State team. I'm not going to go against them. That's probably the way I lean, but I have no interest in laying 4. So
they could absolutely take down a big. I mean, Nebraska is going to beat Indiana anyway tonight. Wow, did I say that out loud? Tony Finn, let me ask you a question here. Usually when coaches like Izzo tell us his team is reeling, we should probably believe him. Just saying, we should probably believe that things aren't going swimmingly. And they're probably, like Trig said, they ain't going to get right on the road at Penn State this game. So what do you think? What do you think of this matchup?
And first off, to your question, I think you're right. I mean, Izzo's not, I don't think he's the most transparent college coach in the ranks, the college ranks, let's say, but this isn't something that's new to him over the years. It's funny, Izzo will typically, if he starts out really hot, if this team starts out hot, it's usually a bad sign. They usually have a lull that costs you more than impresses you, whichever side you might, whatever your perspective might be. But yeah, it's a funny thing, this Big Ten. For years and years, I've always said, if you got insomnia, just put on a rerun of a Big Ten game, a basketball game, you'll be asleep in 10 minutes, It's not really the case anymore. New coaches. Izzo's still who Izzo is. This team is not wouldn't consider some of the staples that he coaches and lives by as far as the basketball court goes. They'd always play tough defense, turn teams over, and score with their wings in transition. They're turning the ball over more than they're turning their team over. They're everything, the injuries, et cetera, et cetera. And it wasn't very long ago, you guys have been talking about Penn State's home court advantage. I remember back 2010, 2012, when they were doing so poorly that they were they wanted to go back to the old gymnasium that held about 2,000 people. They thought they might play a little better at home. I kind of like this Penn State team, like Trig. I like them. That double overtime loss to Clemson is a little deceiving. People are going to see that 100 to score, 100 to something, 90s, and say, man, we got an up-tempo team. Now, that should say, I think this Penn State team is going to be a fun team to watch. I'm not in this room, but so far I'm with everyone. I would be leaning to the home team here. The head coach of the Lions is asking the kids come out in full force, man. He's not just asking. Shrewsbury's been begging the student body, let's have, what's the equivalent of what would be a whiteout, right? So give me Penn State laying the small number. I would be there, buddy.
It's listen, this is big. First time in program history, the opportunity to take down Michigan State twice in a row. Think they're going to be up for this game for sure. All right, we got another interesting test here tonight as we head over to Gainesville. And the Florida Gators are taking on UConn. 4.5, I think, is what that number is now. 143.5, 9 o'clock Eastern time. Tip on this one. Kind of been up and down for Florida. Shocker. Mike White leaves, and now Georgia sucks. Shocker. But this should be a real interesting test, I think, for UConn, because Trig, the first real true road game for UConn right now here, coming down to take on Colin Castleton and UF, but I don't know. This has got to be one of the more talented UConn teams we've seen as of late. What do you think they do here tonight? Do they get the win?
Joe, listen, I know you know how I like to bet, and you expected me to come on here and make a case for Florida, but I'm not going to do that because UConn is another team that I was insanely high on coming into the season. I wrote the Big East preview in Ralph Michaels' preseason guide. I talked about UConn being the team that I really thought was potentially better than Villanova and Creighton, and I still believe that. I think UConn not only is the best team in the Big East, they're one of the best teams in the country. They're 8-0 against the spread. Now, I love coming in with the spot and saying, all right, this team's overheating. Like now it's time to come back down to earth. And is this the spot to do so? But I couldn't have less interest in betting against UConn. That's the beauty of being the better and not that, we have to lay the -110 as the better, but we get to pick the games that we bet and don't bet. And in this case, I have no interest in fading a UConn team that's essentially, they're in the top 100 nationally in every single metric. There's not one thing this team is bad at. They're elite defensively, 82.9 points per game. Florida, they in my opinion have some issues right now. I don't know if we know if Lofton is playing or not. I mean, they're just not a team that, I get it. Like, it is the spot. Like, they're at home. They could get up for an effort and potentially, steal a win or cover this number. But they're not. I have no interest in finding out if they do that with my money on them. So I've loved UConn all year. I have not bet against UConn all year. They're 8-0 against the spread. I have no reason to now. I think UConn probably leaves Gainesville with the win, but I'm not going to lay the 4.5. So that's my take on that game, Joe.
It's the most talented team Hurley's had in a long time here, maybe ever. Best shooting team we've seen here, Tony Finn from UConn. Got a lot of guys that can chuck the rock up there, and then you got Sonogo. So what do you do here? Do you trust them to go on the road and get it done against a Florida team that's been, shall we say, inconsistent?
Yeah, I do. It's funny, before Hurley, Kevin Ott, one time, this is about 2014, right after the 2014 national championship team of UConn, their last, obviously, a championship team. I was we're still in Kansas City. We had not yet made the move because my better half didn't want the girls going to the school district here in Las Vegas, which is famous for, it's what it is, but you can go anywhere you want really in this town. Just like it's perfect fit for Vegas, right? But Ollie did a great job. Hurley, this is a team that I think everyone should be. Do you remember? You guys all remember. I know you do. Maybe not some of the younger guys, but you remember when the Big East was the bomb? Big East basketball was the bomb. And it's funny how we hear everything about the Big Ten, ACC, Classic, SEC, the Big East SEC Classic bragging rights tonight, but I don't see it pasted all over the television sets or on my computer. The Big East kind of gets shuffled sometimes a little bit, and UConn's for real. I mean, SEC they really have raised their level of basketball. Last year was a good example where they had a lot of teams, a lot of programs, a lot of coaches, good coaches, fighting for top seeds in the tourney. So Huskies are 9-0, and it's not a mistake. I mean, they beat Alabama, Iowa State, Oklahoma State. Not that Iowa State maybe the best out of these three, but Oklahoma State's always tough. They're tough just from some of the ghosts of basketball past. So Gators are 6-3, but wins over Florida A&M, Stetson are going to be those are UConn's a much different animal, guys. Game total 140, 143 speaks to what UConn can do both ways. I think they can defend, they can score. It's tough not to like UConn even on the road here. That's where I'm at.
I think it.
Tony, Joe, real quick.
Yeah.
Because I totally forgot, and this is really kind of important. Sure. This was my counter to the first true road game. Right. UConn already has 4 wins over Ken Pom top 50 teams.
50 teams.
It's their first true road. It's their first true road game, but it's not like they've been home playing cupcakes. They've been out playing top teams. So I think that offsets the first true road game argument for Florida, against UConn a little bit.
Yeah, kind of like Texas, the first time out of the state of Texas, and look how well that worked at the Garden Forum last night. Talk to me here, good job, Illinois. Talk to me here, Bryan Power. I guess we can say, transfer portal and all, they did a really good job. Perimeter shooting is off the charts. You had mentioned, is Penn State going to continue to shoot lights out from outside? Well, is UConn going to continue to shoot? And if there's any regression, might it cost them in this game here tonight with Florida?
Okay. 10. That is the number of unbeaten teams we still have left in the country. And I'm kind of like Trig in the sense that I'm looking for reasons to pick off these undefeated teams. I don't know if Trig just looks at the one-loss record, but I do. This time of year, they're not going to win them all, so I'm looking for reasons to bet against undefeated teams. But I really can't make the argument for Florida here. Tony mentioned the 2 wins that they just had against Florida A&M and Stetson, average of 39 points. That's impressive, but those teams aren't good, and it probably depressed the number here, so it works against you. And Trig came back and mentioned, UConn's schedule. They got the wins over Oregon, Bama, Iowa State, Oklahoma State. Florida has no wins over a team ranked in the Ken Pom top 100. And they lost to FAU. They got destroyed by West Virginia. The only game that UConn, you could say, depending on your closing number, that they might not have covered, depending on what you had, was against Buffalo. They closed 21 some places. They won by 20. So, but other than that, they've covered them all. The key matchup here is Sonogo on the inside against Castleton. You referenced Castleton, Joe. He hasn't probably, Sonogo hasn't probably faced an interior player of that caliber yet. But UConn, and here's the thing too, the 3-point shooting. Number of guys for UConn that are shooting way above career marks from behind the arc. Does that continue? Shot quality data suggests Florida been a little unlucky when it comes to opponent 3-point shooting percentage. But I still cannot make the case for Florida, like the other guys. I'm just sitting this one out, to be honest with you, because I don't want to lay the points either with UConn.
4 wins is what Trig said UConn has against Ken Pom top 50. No wins against Ken Pom top 100 for Florida. So some might say, how in the hell is this only 4.5? Should be an interesting one here tonight for sure. One other game we'll head out west and break down, and we'll take a look at Arizona State taking on SMU from one Hurley to another here, guys. Interesting matchup here in this one. And Arizona State, I don't know, is it kind of feel like 135.5? The total is an interesting spot here. Tony, Finn, where are you looking in this matchup here? Are you looking for defense, or do you think we might get some points here with these two teams?
Well, I think you talked. First off, we got to look for who's cloning the Hurleys. You guys, and to have 2 out of the 3 games on the show we're going to discuss are coached by a Hurley. This Arizona State team is interesting. If you remember a couple of years ago when they had their hot start, they came out of the gates firing, and then they had a national television game, a night game against Kansas, and they beat Kansas even, and that's kind of when Hurley's. It's always been Bobby Hurley and Duke, but this is a team that's 8-1, and they're shooting less than 30% from the 3, which is Hurley's signature. Really, those teams that he's had in the past they defend and could shoot the 3. So this team's a little strange. SMU's down. I mean, the Arizona State's played 4 teams. I think they've beaten 4 top 100 Ken Pom and Bart. Bart programs, at least the ones they have listed in the top 100, and SMU's down, right? The Mustangs lost a ton of production from last year's squad. They still have some returning contributors, but the production's almost nil compared to what they have had in past years. I think they rank in the low 300s. Let's put it this way: in the bottom 10% of Division I schools in field goal defense. Effective field goal defense. So this is a game that if you're not liking Arizona State, then you're probably watching, because I'm not sure there's enough points to intrigue me to jump on the death penalty. Still, the Mustangs that used to have the great football players. I'm not in this court with them and not in the room with them, but I'm sure going to watch this game, Joe. I'm very interested in it.
So you bring up an interesting point, Tony Finn, because I've on In-Game Live at night, I'm covering Arizona State, and I've watched back-to-back. I've watched Colorado and Stanford, and I have never, Bryan Power, seen a team get the amount of points they do from the free throw line in a game. Yeah. It's the most unbelievable thing. They can't shoot a lick, but for some reason, they're at the free throw line every other play. It's the most unbelievable thing, and that is really, they take teams out of their game and they make all their points from the free throw line, and before you know it, they're winning these close games, which is kind of what they've been doing here. What do you think of this matchup against SMU?
Yeah, just to quantify what you're talking about there, Joe, they're averaging 23 attempts per game from the free throw line. They're getting more points per game from the charity stripe than they do from behind the arc.
That
crazy.
Is
insane.
Yeah.
For 2022 college basketball. Tony touched on it. This is not a good three-point shooting team. 29%.
Nope.
The exact. I don't love the spot here for the Sun Devils because you referenced the pair of close wins they had, Joe, against Colorado and Stanford. They've got Creighton on deck in a game that will be played in Vegas. I think we might be 10 days away from that. I don't have it in front of me anymore, but mentally, I think that's what it was. So not a huge look ahead, but it might be something they're thinking about. And the Sun Devils' true road games, the 2 true road games this year, both decided by just 1 point, including a loss in overtime as 11-point chalk at Texas Southern. So that's maybe something to keep in mind. But SMU, not a lot to like here. They just lost as 13-point favorites to Jackson State. We hardly knew you, Coach Prime. And they're 2-5 straight up and 1-6 against the number last 7 games. Last 13 times as a dog, 3-10 against the number. They failed to cover both times this season as a dog. They've lost by an average of 10.5 points per game to the first 3 top 100 opponents they faced, and just 238 in offensive efficiency, guys. And if you're 238 in offensive efficiency, not a good matchup against a team that's top 16 in defensive efficiency. Arizona State allowing just 60.1 points per game. We talked about the free throw line already. A top 15 team in blocks per game are the Sun Devils. Interesting line movement here because overnight the number went up. Now it's come back down, and I think it's lower than what it opened. I'm seeing -5. At the current number, it's not on my card, but if you want to play, I would lean Sun Devils here, despite the fact I do not like the spot for them.
So it's interesting, Trig, because really they're really good on the boards, Arizona State, and they are fantastic at getting at the free throw line. SMU can't score, and we want to lay this kind of number with Arizona State in what is going to be a rock fight. How do you approach this game?
All right, quick story for you, Joe. When I got to Siena College in 2004,
yes.
Listen, when I showed up on campus 2004. The head basketball coach was Rob Lanier, okay, who is now the new head coach of the SMU Mustangs. On that team, he had Jack McClinton as a freshman who ended up going to Miami and getting drafted in the NBA, and 4 other studs. And Siena went 6-24. And from that day, I was like, okay, like this. And he just is not, and he's done this. The guy can recruit. He gets unreal recruits. He's a great recruiter. He's never been a good in-game coach. And I'm looking at this SMU roster, who obviously loses Kendrick Davis and is now made up a lot of recruits. And I look at the guys he brought in, Samuel Williamson from Louisville, Ricardo Wright, who was at Marist, who was awesome last year. You go down the list, and other than Odigi from Troy, none of these guys he's brought in are doing anything. Like the guy from Washington State, Kubali, they have done nothing. Like Ricardo Wright's done nothing. Williamson has been okay, hasn't really caught on like I expected him to. So with all that being said, like SMU is going to have to be a fade for me until I start to see something from this list of guys he's brought in. He's got the 2. It's I think Phelps and Nuttall, there's a couple guys that are holdovers that have been okay and have done most of their scoring. But I think SMU's rating going into the season was largely based on the fact that it looked like he had some nice transfers coming in, and none of these guys have really panned out. And we've seen that in the transfer portal era. Like sometimes it doesn't necessarily translate. I think back to Oregon last year. I thought that team was going to be awesome on paper. And even a guy like Dana Altman, who was a tremendous coach, couldn't get that Oregon team to sort of gel. So sometimes it doesn't matter what it says on paper. And that's kind of how I feel about this SMU team right now. Obviously, they kind of hit rock bottom last time out with the loss to Jackson State. So this is normally a spot where I would look to be like, can I get in them? Can I buy low on them right here? But listen, I had Stanford as a best bet on Sunday against Arizona State. I did not deserve to win that game. So next time I go on Twitter and I complain, Joe, about like my team fouling with getting fouled and losing at the free throw line, you can call me out because I don't know how they didn't foul at the end there. I snuck in with a 4-point loss with Stanford, but Arizona State was much better than Stanford in that game. They shot horribly. They took some bad shots, but I have a feeling they're going to clean some of that up. The whole Bagley thing is weird. I kind of had Arizona State rated higher than I have them right now because I thought he was going to be in for a bounce back year. He hasn't played in a while. But now I'm starting to think that, like, we're getting further and further away from the last time he's played, so it doesn't matter as much. I'm kind of with the guys here. I lean Arizona State because I'm willing to fade. I've never thought Rob Lanier is a good coach. This is going on 20 years now. I like to fade his teams because I just don't think he's a good in-game coach. And I haven't seen the talent with SMU to say, okay, they're just going to out-talent this team. I haven't seen it yet, so I'd have to lay it with the Sun Devils. Not a huge take for me here, but I do think Arizona State's the right side if you want to play this game.
Very weird, the whole Bagley thing. I'm going to the NBA. No, I'm coming back. I'm only kidding. I'll be back. And now he doesn't play. Very strange. All right, guys. It's a very weird situation, but it's a great schedule here tonight. We broke down 3 games for you. Now what we'll do is go around the horn and see if these guys have a particular game, whether it was one of these 3s or anything off the card that they think they like a little bit better than the rest. So, Bryan Power, kick us off here, my man. What is the game you have circled for us here tonight?
Well, I needed to double check what I had circled. As a matter of fact, I told the producers the wrong game at first, but it's been one of those days, Joe. But we're on track here, and I'm looking at Cal State Northridge here. There's a lot of Cal States going on. Last night, in what I handicapped as a similar matchup, Cal State Bakersfield screwed me. They were covering for 39 minutes and 30 seconds. So then came the last 30, and then they didn't cover. But Winthrop went the other way. There was a lot of close games last night that went through anyway. But whatever. Anyway, you want to hear the best bet for today. Let's go with Cal State Northridge getting 13.5 against Fresno State. Both teams struggling to start the season. Fresno State actually lost outright and failed to cover against the first 5 D1 opponents they faced. So a real rough start for them. But they beat UC Irvine, which was a shocker to me, as 8-point dogs, won by 14. Didn't see that coming. But I think that result's got them a little overvalued here because both teams, again, similar to what we talked about with Michigan State, Penn State, these teams play slow. Theoretically, okay, and this was my handicap last night with that Cal State Bakersfield game I mentioned, a game with fewer possessions makes it harder for the favorite to win by margin. And so we're getting 13.5 here. Fresno State's only averaging 61.6 points per game and shooting a hideous 24.2% three-point. That is not going to get it done. Cal State Northridge, not much better offensively, but I think they can hang within the number here. There's not going to be a lot of possessions. Slow game, ugly game. Only once have the Matadors been beaten by double digits, and that was a case where they were playing a second game in 3 days. So my view is favorite wins here, but by less than what the spread is calling for. Take the points with Cal State Northridge.
Boom! Getting it done with Cal State Northridge. Love it. And Trig, man, I was trying to figure out where you might go for a best bet. I think I have it narrowed down. Where is it? Go ahead, shock us, Sienna.
Yeah, my best bet for the show, Sienna +6. Okay, everyone knows I went there, but it's really not a homer pick. I have not bet on Sienna once this season. I think I've actually bet against them 4 times already. I'm 2-2, fading the Sienna Saints, but here I like them, and it's I haven't put this on my card officially yet. The number of 6 is a little bit short. But the spot is really good for Sienna here. They did not cover last Friday, but they also had about 5 guys battling the flu, a couple of which played. One of them was Javion McCollum, who went for 27 despite being sick. And I know that Coach Carm gave him a couple days off. It seems like everyone is healthy and ready for this game. And listen, we just saw Sienna go down to Disney. They beat Florida State. They beat Seton Hall. They covered against Ole Miss, so they had a nice run against sort of the high major teams. Granted, a couple of those teams have issues, but they've played pretty good basketball. I mean, I think they've got a lot of confidence. I think Javion McCollum's an absolute superstar. He'll probably follow in Jalen Pickett's footsteps and be at a bigger school in a year or two. But right now, he's on Sienna. He's making that team a lot better. And guys, Georgetown is a disaster. I mean, this team is just Patrick Ewing's a terrible coach. I don't know why he's still there. They can't hold a lead. You should not be backing them as a favorite of any sort. So I'll be a little homer pick for me here, Joe Raineri. I like the Siena Saints +6. I'm hoping they can pull what I will call a mild upset here because Georgetown is that bad. And yeah, Siena +6. I think they got a great chance tonight down in DC to get a win.
Love it. And don't be afraid to double down if by some strange reason Georgetown is leading after the first half.
They can't play two good halves. They cannot play two good halves. It's unbelievable.
It's impossible. Yeah. They love blowing second half leads, this Georgetown team. So, yeah, Siena across the board grabbing the points there. Tony Finn, what do you think, man? Which one of these games on the court are you looking at tonight?
Quickly, please remember, be careful mentioning Florida State when you mention a team that's beaten Florida State, because if you watched that Florida State game, you would have thought there's two high school teams playing. And is Deion Sanders and could Deion Sanders take this Georgetown basketball team to different heights? You think maybe?
Yeah, he might. They called him.
Yeah.
Everybody calls Deion.
Anthony Peeler. Listen, we're gonna go to a Missouri team that I've followed for a long time because of my relationship with the Big 12 and Kansas City and Lawrence, Kansas, and Jayhawks. Anthony Peeler, Larry Drew, Steve Spanovich, right? Keon Dooling, John. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's Missouri. That's not Missouri State. Missouri State's had a couple guys in the NBA, but we won't go there because not many. Hard-nosed team. Really like this team. They lost some, even though they lost a Gage Prim to eligibility and Isaiah Mosley to Missouri, which is that's sacrilege. I don't know if Mosley will survive Missouri's season without being a couple drive-bys, but they don't have to go very far above and beyond tonight. Really, you have a team that I've watched, and I played against them the last time. Right, I took Houston minus the points. It was a fairly big number. It really was against the St. Mary's team. And I know better. Guys, I know better. Take Missouri State defensive team that's talented against the St. Mary's team that has not figured out their rotations quite yet. Bennett still has some – he's not interested in embarrassing Missouri State. Missouri State points because he's got a neutral site game this weekend against San Diego State. That's big. Missouri State plus the points tonight against St. Mary's.
Ooh, taking it. Love it. And how about our friends over at the Gold Sheet? They, too, have got a play of the day, and they're going to go, I believe it looks like Pittsburgh, in fact, that they're going to look at. Pittsburgh taking on Vandy on the road. And I do see, if I'm not mistaken, let me see here. We've got a couple of issues going on here, according to our friends at the Gold Sheet. Number one, Vandy can't shoot a free throw. That's an issue. Pitt has now won 5 straight, I believe, including a couple on the road against a pretty good NC State team and Northwestern. And, oh, yeah, Vandy's best playmaker there, Jordan Wright, has been limited over the last couple of weeks, dealing with some back spasms. So some issues surrounding this Vandy team, which is why we've seen the number slowly creep towards our friends here at Pittsburgh, and that is why the Gold Sheet is on top of it. And we'd encourage you guys to head over to goldsheet.com, check out the write-ups across the board on these games, and of course, great handicapping tools and data available over at goldsheet.com. All right, I'm going to go with Blowout City here tonight because something tells me this game is going to be absolutely disgusting, which is why I'm going to back Villanova at home to literally rip Penn apart from limb to limb. Like, we're talking rip an elbow out, the knee is next. This line continues to grow, and I get it because I think Villanova coming home, neither team has been all that great so far this year, but I think this is a welcome back Villanova to the ranks of the Big Eight here. So the Big East rather. So I'm going to back Nova to get it done and win by plenty. One more time, though, we've got a couple of recaps here, including Cal State Northridge going 2 touchdowns there with Bryan Power, while Trig is going Siena +6, taking on Georgetown. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Tony Finn, Missouri State, plus 14 as well. We got a couple of underdog 2 touchdowns in both those games. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go Nova to absolutely destroy Penn here. And our friends at the Gold Sheet, they're going to like Pittsburgh, plus 3.5. Taking on Vandy on the road. And, of course, if you visit all 3 of these guys, in fact, Bryan Power, Tony Finn, Adam Trigger, visit their pages over at wagertalk.com. Guys, we have that end-of-the-year special right now. Hop on board with these guys. Those all-access packages now get every play right through the end of the year across the sports. I mean, Trig has been crushing it in football and, of course, college hoops there. Bryan Power on his NBA, his NFL, his college football bowl season. It has been fantastic, guys, as has Tony Finn on the hardwood, crushing the association. So do yourselves a favor. Head on over to wagertalk.com. Visit Bryan Power, Adam Trigger, and Tony Finn, guys. Hop on board. Take advantage of that special now. Get every play through the end of the year. All right, we'll be back again tomorrow. Now the slate of college hoops, plenty going on this week. In fact, not only in football, but in college basketball, some great matchups. And, of course, conference play ready to roll out now, and we've got you covered. So on behalf of Bryan Power, Tony Finn, Adam Trigger, guys, we appreciate the time. Best of luck with all the plays tonight. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Good luck.
Let's finish off 2022 with a bang. First, we'd like to thank everyone as a record number of you took advantage of our Thanksgiving 7-day special. We hope you enjoyed the convenience of getting your favorite handicappers plays daily during the hectic holiday weekend. And we also know that December can be a frenzied month with the holidays and all the sports in play. In the spirit of the season and due to the success of the Thanksgiving special, we are now offering a rest of the calendar year special to get every NFL, college bowl game, NBA, NHL, or any other sport your favorite handicapper releases through December 31st for only $1.99. The early bird really does catch the worm for this special as it starts the day you sign up. No coupon is needed and you pay only $1.99 today or pay $1.99 in a few days. The choice is simple. Let's have a great ending to 2022.